My name is Susan Block and I live in West Hartford, Connecticut. I'd like to share a story with you that occurred in the fall of 2008. I was an active 69-year-old woman cycling in Croatia, having the best time being with other people who loved an active cycling life. I was aware of a symptom that just didn't feel right in my body. I had always been very aware of things. I was a yoga teacher, I walked, I was a cross-country skier, and when I got back from my trip, I went to the doctor who originally told me at my yearly physical that she wouldn't have a practice if everyone was as healthy as I was. But she did take my symptoms seriously and had some tests done, and when I went back for the consultation, she just said, "Susan, this is the most unfair news that I have to tell you." And she paused and compassionately said, "You have ovarian cancer." It was a total shock to me and to her. And during that time, during living in shock and disbelief, I went through 8 months of chemotherapy and major abdominal surgery. And it took me to July of 2009 when I couldn't wait to get back to life and to be back on my bike again and to be with family and friends and just to go back to what was my wonderful life before cancer. During that time I had a wonderful 2-year remission. I never ever made room for cancer returning. I was so busy living, and it was just like, this is the best, and been there, done that. And so it was every time I went back for my checkups, which was every 3 months, I had a big smile and it was like, I'm feeling great. And it was even with that smile and that positive attitude that I found out in 2011 of March that my cancer had returned. It was even more devastating for me the second time because I had made no room for it. I was told that the drug that would give me a 70% chance of getting back into remission was a drug called Doxil. And so a year ago, in May, June, July, I was told I would need 6 rounds of this drug Doxil. And so I began having the treatment for those 3 months, May, June, July. And when 2 days before my August treatment, I received a call and they said, "Don't come for your treatment because we don't have the drug." And I said, "Oh, well, does that mean you're getting it next week?" "No, we don't know when we're going to get the drug." I didn't know what to say. "What do you mean?" That the very thing that was giving me hope, that was giving me a reason to live, that was extending my life, buying me time, was being taken away from me. And I did everything on my own. I made phone calls. I did research. I felt I've got to find Doxil because for me it was like I wanted my life. And I was in shock from having having cancer again, and then I had to resort to trying to find the drug. When I just couldn't find it anywhere after calls and research, I decided that I needed to involve Senator Blumenthal, and I wrote him a letter, and I also contacted the Hartford office and talked to Maureen Downs and Grady Keith, and they were so compassionate and so willing to do whatever they could possibly do once they heard my story of, how can this happen? How can you be having treatment and in the middle of treatment be told that we can't finish the next 3 treatments? And it was also not in my best interest to change drugs. That is not good for the whole process. Maureen and the people in Washington and Grady, they really literally dropped whatever was on their plate to research and to help me. And that along with informing Senator Blumenthal. And shortly thereafter, it was probably a couple of weeks later, I got a call from Senator Blumenthal himself, who said, I have some wonderful news to tell you, unless you've already heard it. And I hadn't. And he said, we will have your Doxil for you next week. And I literally burst into tears and had goosebumps, and I still feel the emotion, because it was as if he was saying, I'm giving you your life back. And he was, and they all were. They were helping to give me my life, which I wanted desperately. And in my letter to Senator Blumenthal, I need to share with you that I was saying that I was speaking out for myself. That was true, but I was also speaking out for sister ovarian cancer people and patients, other people who had other forms of cancer, other people who are on other medications, because I was becoming aware that other drugs were not available either. And I said, this is for myself, this is for all the other people, because we deserve what is our birthright, which is our life. We deserve life. So thank you for listening, and I am very grateful to be back into living life once again, thanks to what was done for me with the help of Senator Blumenthal and everyone in his office. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Frank Clifford, and I have bladder cancer. 3 years ago I was diagnosed with it. They did a cystoscopy type surgery where they didn't have to cut me open, but they were able to remove the tumor. It reoccurred again a year later, and after removing the tumor, they put me on a treatment called BCG, which is a chemotherapy that's used for bladder cancer. Unfortunately, my body has a very bad reaction to it, and they had to stop the treatment. A year later, I was diagnosed again with a bladder tumor, and it was removed. And they found that a drug called mitomycin would be a very good matchup for fighting it. The problem was that the mitomycin, there was a nationwide shortage of this drug. And this is where I learned that not only this drug, but there's many, many others where there's a shortage in the United States of America. And I found that very hard to believe. So I decided to try to do something myself. What can I do? And I asked all my friends to write to their senators and their congressmen. And I received a response from Senator Blumenthal where he said that he was going to look into this, that he was on a committee that was into studying, what's going on with the shortages of drugs, and in an oversight committee that was going to look into, why this is happening and to try to prevent it. I was able to get about 60 of my friends to write to their congressmen and their senators, and through their intervention, I was able to get the mitomycin treatment. And I'm very grateful for it. I'm in my 5th week of chemo treatment. I have one more to go. But there are many other people that have the same problem where they can't get the chemotherapy treatment or other drugs that are used in association with chemotherapy. And I think it's really important that we find out why this is happening and try to do something about it. If there was some way that there could be notification when a company was not going to be producing it, that some other company then could start manufacturing it just to keep the supply up there. There's a lot of people that really need this, and I'm really hoping that we can get some help. Thank you.
Today's measure against drug shortages recognizes that in the greatest country in the history of the world, there is absolutely no excuse, and it should be unacceptable that these drug shortages in workhorse medicines exist. From the day that I became your United States Senator, I began hearing stories about how people are denied essential anesthesiology, as well as cancer medicines, allergy drugs, because they are in short supply. These drugs are workhorse medicine. They are lifesavers. And so today's measure, which I'm very proud to have helped to lead, will provide for early notification and warning if the supply process breaks down and shortages are threatened. But it's only a first step. We need not only better notification and warning, but also public-private partnerships to make sure that there are sufficient supplies and that there are no drug shortages, encouragement and incentives for industry to produce these drugs, often generic, sterile injectables. And essentially, because the profit margins on them are often so low, the markets are simply not working, which is why we have gray markets and price gouging and threatened price increases skyrocketing to 700 and 800%, raising the cost of healthcare generally. These facts have been documented by the General Accountability Office, and we need even stronger measures, which I am pledged to achieve, and I will continue work building on this first step so that we truly end drug shortages in this country. I'm proud of this first step, and I pledge even stronger measures.